Chapter 62-64. It was a blessing in disguise that they had such a situation now. She just couldn't control her anger towards Nate, and gritted her teeth and said, "That BA5-tard Nate is not a human being. He deliberately set a trap for you to step on. He is simply a beast." Jimmy comforted her, "It's okay, don't worry about him. He will have a hard time when he goes to China tomorrow. I estimate that in the next 10 years. It will be difficult for Ellis to make a profit. The income of the 11 of us may need to be paid out of Nate's own pocket in the end. In 10 years, he will probably become a pauper." The wife nodded and gritted her teeth and said, "It serves him right. I have to beat him to death." After that, she looked at Jimmy and said seriously, "Husband, you don't have to worry. We have survived this disaster. We should be low-key and down-to-earth in the future. Sister-in-law is sister-in-law after all. And she will definitely not make things difficult for you maliciously." Jimmy nodded and said, "I think so too. Anyway, I can still take home $4 million from Nate every year, which is enough for our family expenses." The wife said, "The children are all grown up, and there is no need for me to stay in the United States. When you settle down in China, I will go to China to accompany you." Jimmy heard this and felt relieved. He was moved and said, "Thank you, wife." A few hours later. It was already early morning in Ores Hill. Charlie got up early and made breakfast. Claire also got up early and rushed to the company after breakfast. Charlie had nothing to do. When he was hesitating about going to Zijin Villa and Champs Ellis's hot spring, Paul called him. On the phone, Paul reported his Uncle Jimmy's plan to Charlie and asked him for his opinion. Charlie didn't expect Jimmy to pull his boss and colleagues over as soon as he returned to the United States. But he knew very well what Jimmy meant by doing so. After all, Jimmy was a weak person in front of his boss. Even if he held the imperial sword given by Steve, he might not be able to kill him easily. It would be better to bring the person to Steve and let Steve kill him in person. For Charlie, it was Jimmy's gang who were making trouble anyway. So he just had to wait and watch the show in Ores Hill. Then, he said to Paul, "Let them come. Tell Jimmy to choose Shangri-La as the hotel for their team. When they have a meeting at Shangri-La, I will go there with Steve and keep all the 10 senior partners." "Okay, Mr. Wade," Paul said respectfully, "then I'll tell him so." It was already night in the United States. Jimmy was packing his luggage while anxiously waiting for Paul's call back. He felt that Charlie would not oppose his decision, but he was still a little unsure in his heart. Soon, Paul called. He and his wife became nervous instantly. Jimmy quickly answered the phone and asked him, "Paul, have you contacted Mr. Wade?" Paul said, "Uncle Jimmy, I have contacted Mr. Wade. He said that you can go at any time. Remember to stay at the Shangri-La Hotel. When you have a meeting, he will go there with Mr. Rothschild." "Great!" Jimmy said excitedly, "We will leave early tomorrow morning and arrive in Ores Hill the next morning local time. Then we will go directly to Shangri-La." "Okay," Paul said. "Tell me when you have settled down, so that I can say hello to Mr. Wade and let him see when it is more appropriate to meet you." "No problem." Jimmy responded happily, "I will report to you as soon as I arrive." The next morning, a Boeing 777 charter plane departed from New York's Kennedy Airport. All the core members of the Ellis law firm were on the plane. Under the leadership of their boss, Nate Ellis, they flew to China happily. The happiest person among them was the boss Nate himself. He was so excited that he couldn't close his mouth. The muscles on his face were a little stiff because of the uncontrollable smile. The reason why Nate was so happy was that before the plane took off, Jimmy personally assured him that Steve Rothschild would definitely attend their meeting. After getting Steve's promise that he would definitely attend, Nate was so excited that he wanted to jump up on the plane. For him, this feeling was like a village in the United States planning to hold a village representative meeting. but suddenly heard that the vice president was going to attend the meeting. It was extremely rare. At this moment, he looked at Jimmy like a dog looking at a goddess. The more he looked, the happier he was. If it weren't for his normal S3 Zool orientation. He really wanted to hug Jimmy's old face and kiss him hard. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. I didn't expect that Jimmy would become my biggest blessing after so many years of entrepreneurship. As long as I can establish a certain friendship with Steve Rothschild this time, won't I have a bright future? By that time, what will a mere law firm mean? Even if I want to run for a seat in Parliament, the Rothschild family will definitely be able to help me realize my wish. And then I can smoothly give up business and join politics.